All right. All right. So I had a pretty good night last night. I guess I got a lot of sleep, so I'm all caught up. But I got thinking about some stuff, and the algorithm showed me some things that answered some questions that I have been working on. So decided to try to organize my weeks a little bit better, since now I kind of know what I want to be doing and what I need to be doing. So um, So this will be actually be for all future weeks, as far as I'm aware, and I'll play around with it as I need to. But I think this is a good baseline, plus some specific goals to get done for the week. So the goal is to work 30 hours this week and try to, or plus 30 plus hours, and then try to make about $1,000 if I can. So it means during the day when Instacart is most active, that is when I will need to bring something for me to do while I'm away that doesn't take a lot of space and doesn't take a lot of time to hook up. Hold on one sec. All right, let's get back to that. So, I want to be consistent with my meals. I want to be consistent with my work to make money. And I want to be consistent with my readings. And then anything else I do is extra. But tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and start my tea and lemonade experiment. Um, so I'm going to thinking of buying maybe one cup or one bottle of lemonade, or I could buy a 6-pack or the 4-pack of the Simply Lemonade. So that's kind of where my options are right now. And then a thing of green tea. And then I'll set everything up. I'll have it cold brew for a day. And then I'll have it cold brew for 2 days and 3 days. And then 1, 2, and 3 tea bags each. So I think I'll buy a single bottle because it'll be cheaper that way. And then I'll get I have those aluminum cups, but I might try something different. We'll see. Maybe I'll just go buy like a 6-pack or a 12-pack of bottled water and then drink those. Okay. So my plan for breakfast every day is to do the rolled peanut butter and banana because that just gets me started so quick. It's so quick. So I'm going to start doing that again. And then for a snack at some point throughout the day, I'll have some eggs. I think I'll start out with hard-boiled eggs just to get the eggs in. But I might just buy me a 12-pack of eggs and make all that myself. That way I can record it. And then lunch will be soup because I bought a bunch of soup last week. So got a bunch of Progresso soups. So I'll go ahead and eat some of that. And then I was thinking maybe I could even mix eggs with that, like when I get into the chicken noodle soup. I'm gonna add make it like an egg drop. And then for dinner, I'll do the voila frozen noodle and shrimp / chicken dishes. I'll just kind of alternate between that. Water, I'd like to drink half a gallon per day. And then the tea and lemonade, I'd like to drink half a liter per day, or one 500 milliliter bottle. And that's why I was thinking of getting bottled water. Maybe I'll just go buy like a Costco case tomorrow, and I'll experiment with that. So I want to do cold brewed coffee as well, as a future experiment, and maybe like cold brew fruit drinks and stuff. So we'll see where it goes. But anywho, and then I'd like to go ahead and start working on end of chapter problems in the chemistry book from OpenStax. So maybe like an hour or two a day, in between, or maybe after I'm done reading, or maybe in between readings, I can do some problems. So let's actually go ahead and do that now. So if I'm going to do, so example schedule for tomorrow, just move this over here. So example 10, 16. Let's see. Yeah, so maybe the example will look like AV40, 41. Something like that. Or I could just save it all for the very end. So get through all the Bible readings and then do the chemistry problems. We'll see. I kind of like this way better. This gives me a little break in between. And for the chemistry problems, though, open stacks, chemistry. File. I'll start with number 1. So I'll do all of this. So I'll do the key terms, key equations, summary, exercises. So I'll go through all of these, and then I'll write down their definition and then what it means to me, if I can think of something. And then the key equations, summary of all the sections, and then the exercises. So there's a total of 99. So maybe I'll do odds, evens. And that way it kind of splits it up a little bit arbitrarily. I won't do that today, but that would be like the ideal schedule, given that I haven't read any of these, but I'm going to be doing a couple of the Bible AVs tonight just to get a couple readings in for the day. So, but I want to do it in a way, so all the readings in a way where I kind of earn my ability to read the next thing. So for the first 5 Bible readings, reading 1 earns the next reading. And then if I finish reading the 5 AVs and I got time and I want to read some more, then I can get into some OpenStax readings. And I'll do it in the order of chemistry, sociology, psychology. Because those are the 3 ones I want to finish the first, or finish the most. So, actually, instead of psychology, actually, I'll add 1 more. Algebra. Because I want to finish. Oops. I want to finish. Oh, is that on a highlighter? There we go. There's that. And I want to finish these 2 first. Because those ones I want to tutor first. But I'd also like to tutor sociology and psychology as well. So we'll see. But anywho, this gets me to about 8 to 10 hours of Instacart and 8 to 10 hours of reading per day. I think that's pretty good. By midday, somewhere between 12 and 3. And then I'm thinking what I'm going to do as an activity. Um, is start recording out of the dictionary using that backup cell phone that I have. So that means I need to start charging it. However, I don't know where it's at the moment, so I'm going to have to figure out where I put that. But basically, I would like to. Oh, maybe it's up here. No, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it here. Maybe. No. Yeah, I'm not sure where it is. I'll have to find it, but that way I can record the book as I'm reading it, and I'll just use my hands. Or I'll get myself a little stand. I can make that work. But I'd like to start the dictionary recordings. And then, let's start a Twitter. Oops. Facebook. Instagram. OnlyFans. Oh yeah, Rumble and Truth. I think that's good for now. And just get those started. I do have a Twitch set up, so I can start using that anytime. But I want to start posting everything that's on YouTube onto Rumble, and then maybe one day a week I can come up with some short ideas for those things, and then maybe a TikTok. Yeah, I want to get those set up. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start recording the dictionary on the phone, but I won't upload anything until the phone's memory is full, and then I'll upload everything at once. And then that'll be something I can do while doing a reading or something. I think that just. Oh, my phone. That phone is in the backpack. That's right. I put it in there. So we'll go ahead and charge that tonight. And then I'd like to go ahead and start working on exercises. So I think also I'll focus on one thing at a time. But I like to do multiple things per day. But as long as I get one in per day, that's more than doing what I'm doing now. So this will just get me started. So I've broken things down. So, and I'll just talk about those later when I get into them. And that's it, really. So let's go ahead and get into the Bible. And let's go ahead and back out of here to save it. It's saved. Let's go ahead and hit up AV40. And AV40 starts out at 1 Chronicles 14. All right. I'm going to go do a little spit rate real quick. All right. Bible. First Chronicles 14 to 22. Let's go. Let's get myself freaking pumped. Ugh. King Hiram of Tyre sent messengers to David along with cedar timbers. Hold on. Turn that up. There we go. Along with cedar timbers, stonemasons, and woodworkers to build a house for him. And David knew that Jehovah had firmly established him as king over Israel, for his kingship was highly exalted for the sake of his people Israel. David took more wives in Jerusalem, and David became father to more sons and daughters. These are the names of the children born to him in Jerusalem: Shammua, Shobab, Nathan, that's me, Solomon, Ibhar, Elishua, Eliphelet, Nogah, Nepheg, Japhia, Elishama, Baaliada, and Eliphelet. When the Philistines heard that David had been anointed as king over all Israel, all the Philistines came up to search for David. When David heard about it, he went out against them. Then the Philistines came in and kept making raids in the valley of Rephaim. David inquired of God, saying, "Should I go up against the Philistines? Will you give them into my hand?" At this Jehovah said to him, "Go up, and I will surely give them into your hand." So David went up to Baal Perazim, and he struck them down there. At that David said, "The true God has spoken through my enemies by my hand, like a breach made by waters." That is why they named that place Baal Perazim. The Philistines abandoned their gods there, and when David gave the order, these were burned in the fire. Later the Philistines once again made a raid in the valley. David again inquired of God, but the true God said to him, "Do not go directly up after them. Instead, go around behind them and come up against them in front of the baka bushes. And when you hear the sound of marching in the tops of the baka bushes, launch your attack, for the true God will have gone out before you to strike down the army of the Philistines." So David did just as the true God commanded him, and they struck down the Philistine army from Gibeon to Gezer. And David's fame spread into all the lands, and Jehovah put the dread of him on all the nations. 1 Chronicles 15. And he continued building houses for himself in the city of David, and he prepared a place for the ark of the true God, and pitched a tent for it. It was then that David said, "No one is to carry the ark of the true God except the Levites, for Jehovah has chosen them to carry the ark of Jehovah and to minister to him always." Then David congregated all Israel at Jerusalem to bring the ark of Jehovah up to the place that he had prepared for it. David gathered the descendants of Aaron and the Levites. From the Kohathites, Uriel the chief and 120 of his brothers. From the Merarites, Asaiah the chief and 220 of his brothers. From the Gershomites, Joel the chief and 130 of his brothers. From the descendants of Elizaphan, Shemaiah the chief and 200 of his brothers. From the descendants of Hebron, Eliel and the chief and 80 of his brothers. From the descendants of Uzziel, Aminadab the chief and 112 of his brothers. Furthermore, David called the priests Zadok and Abiathar, and the Levites Uriel, Asaiah, Joel, Shemaiah, Eliel, and Aminadab, and he said to them, "You are the heads of the paternal houses of the Levites. Sanctify yourselves, you and your brothers, and bring the ark of Jehovah the God of Israel up to the place that I have prepared for it. Since you did not carry it the first time, the anger of Jehovah our God broke out against us, because we did not search out the proper procedure." So the priests and the Levites sanctified themselves to bring up the ark of Jehovah, the God of Israel. Then the Levites carried the ark of the true God on their shoulders with the poles, just as Moses had commanded by Jehovah's word. David then told the chiefs and the Levites to appoint their brothers and singers to sing out joyfully, accompanied by musical instruments, stringed instruments, harps, and cymbals. So the Levites appointed Heman, the son of Joel, and his brothers, Asaph, the son of Berechiah, and of the Merarites, their brothers, Ethan, the son of Cushiah. Together with them were their brothers of the second division, Zechariah ben Jaaziel, Shemiramoth, Jehiel, Uni, Eliab, Benaiah, Maaseiah, Mattathiah, Eliphilehu, Mikneiah, and Obededom, and Jael, the gatekeepers. The singers Heman, Asaph, and Ethan were to play the copper cymbals, and Zechariah, Aziel, Shemiramoth, Jehiel, Uni, Eliab, Maaseiah, and Benaiah played stringed instruments tuned to Alamoth, and Mattathiah, Eliphalihu, Miknaiah, Obededom, Jael, and Azaziah played harps tuned to Sheminith. To act as directors, Chenaniah, the chief of the Levites, supervised the transport, for he was an expert, and Berechiah and Elkanah were gatekeepers for the ark. The priests, Shebaniah, Joshaphat, Nethanel, Amasai, Zechariah, Benaiah, and Eliezer loudly sounded the trumpets before the ark of the true God, and Obededom and Jehiah also served as gatekeepers for the ark. Then David and the elders of Israel and the chiefs of the households were walking along to bring the ark of the covenant of Jehovah up from the house of Obededom with rejoicing. When the true God helped the Levites who were carrying the ark of the covenant of Jehovah, they sacrificed 7 young bulls and carried 7 rams. David was dressed in a sleeveless coat of fine fabric, as were all the Levites carrying the ark. The singers, and Chenaniah, the chief of the transport, and the singers, David was also wearing a linen ephod. All the Israelites were bringing up the ark of the covenant of Jehovah with joyful shouting, with the sound of the horn, with trumpets, with cymbals, playing loudly on stringed instruments and harps. But when the ark of the covenant of Jehovah came to the city of David, Saul's sister Michal looked down through the window and saw King David skipping about and celebrating, and she began to despise him in her heart. 1 Chronicles 16. So they brought the ark of the true God and placed it inside the tent that David had pitched for it. And they presented burnt offerings and communion sacrifices before the true God. When David finished offering up the burnt offerings and the communion sacrifices, he blessed the people in the name of Jehovah. Further, he distributed to all the Israelites, to each man and woman, a round loaf of bread, a date cake, and a raisin cake. When he appointed some of the Levites to minister before the ark of Jehovah, to honor, thank, and praise Jehovah, the God of Israel, Asaph was the head, and second to him was Zechariah and Jael, Shemiramoth, Jehiel, Mattathiah, Eliab, Benaiah, Obededom, and Jael played stringed instruments and harps, and Asaph played the cymbals, and Benaiah and Jahaziel, the priests, blew the trumpets constantly before the ark of the covenant of the true God. It was on that day that David first contributed a song of thanks to Jehovah through Asaph and his brothers. Give thanks to Jehovah, call on his name, make his deeds known among the peoples. Sing to him, sing praises to him, ponder over all his wonderful works. Boast about his holy name. Let the hearts of those seeking Jehovah rejoice. Search for Jehovah and his strength. Seek his face constantly. Remember the wonderful works he has performed, his miracles, and the judgments he has pronounced. You offspring of Israel, his servant, you sons of Jacob, his chosen ones. He is Jehovah our God. His judgments are throughout the earth. Remember his covenant forever, the promise he made to 1,000 generations, the covenant he made with Abraham, and the oath he swore to Isaac, which he established as a decree to Jacob and as a lasting covenant to Israel, saying, I will give you the land of Canaan as your allotted inheritance. This was when you were few in number, yes, very few, and you were foreigners in the land. They walked about from nation to nation, from one kingdom to another. He did not allow any man to oppress them, but on their account he reproved kings, saying, Do not touch my anointed ones, and to my prophets do nothing bad. Sing to Jehovah, all the earth. Announce his salvation day after day. Declare his glory among the nations, his wonderful works among all the peoples. For Jehovah is great and most worthy of praise. He is more awe-inspiring than all other gods. All the gods of the peoples are worthless gods, but Jehovah is the one who made the heavens. In his presence are majesty and splendor. Strength and joy are in his dwelling place. Give Jehovah his due, you families of the peoples. Give Jehovah his due for his glory and strength. Give Jehovah the glory due his name. Bring a gift and come in before him. Bow down to Jehovah in holy adornment. Tremble before him, all the earth. The earth is firmly established. It cannot be moved. Let the heavens rejoice, and let the earth be joyful. Declare among the nations, Jehovah has become king. Let the sea thunder and all that fills it. Let the fields and everything in them rejoice. At the same time, let the trees of the forest shout joyfully before Jehovah, for he is coming to judge the earth. Give thanks to Jehovah, for he is good. His loyal love endures forever. And say, save us, O God of our salvation. Gather us and rescue us from the nations, so that we may give thanks to your holy name and exult in praising you. May Jehovah, the God of Israel, be praised throughout all eternity. And all the people said, Amen. And they praised Jehovah. Then David left Asaph and his brothers there before the ark of the covenant of Jehovah to minister continually before the ark according to the daily routine. Obed-Edom and his brothers, numbering 68. Sorry, that's a lot. And Obed-Edom, the son of Jeduthun, and Hosea were gatekeepers. And Zadok the priest and his fellow priests were before the tabernacle of Jehovah on the high place of Gibeon, to offer up burnt offering to Jehovah regularly on the altar of burnt offering, morning and evening, and to do all that is written in the law of Jehovah, and he commanded Israel. With them were Heman and Jeduthun, and the rest of the selected men who were designated by their names to thank Jehovah, because his loyal love endures forever. And with them were Heman and Jeduthun to sound the trumpets, cymbals, and the instruments used to praise the true God, and the sons of Jeduthun were at the gate. Then all the people went to their homes, and David went to bless his own household. 1 Chronicles 17. As soon as David was settled in his own house, he said to me, Nathan, the prophet, here I am living in a house of cedars, while the ark of the covenant of Jehovah is under tent cloths. Nathan replied to David, do whatever is in your heart, for the true God is with you. On that very night, the word of God came to Nathan, saying, go and say to my servant David, this is what Jehovah says. You are not the one who will build the house for me to dwell in. For I have not dwelled in a house from the day I brought Israel out to this day, but I continued going from tent to tent and from one tabernacle to another. During all the time that I went with all Israel. Did I ever say one word to any of the judges of Israel, whom I appointed to shepherd my people, saying, why did you not build a house of cedars for me? Now say this to my servant David. This is what Jehovah of armies says. I took you from the pastures, from following the flock, to become a leader over my people Israel, and I will be with you wherever you go, and I will do away with all your enemies from before you, and I will make a name for you, like the name of the great men of the earth. I will appoint a place for my people Israel and settle them, and they will live there and not be disturbed anymore, and wicked men will not oppress them again as they did in the past. From the day that I appointed judges over my people Israel, and I will subdue all your enemies. Moreover, I tell you, Jehovah will build a house for you. When your days come to an end and you go to be with your forefathers, I will raise up your offspring after you, one of your sons, and I will firmly establish his kingship. He is the one who will build a house for me, and I will firmly establish his throne forever. I will become his father, and he will become my son. I will not remove my loyal love from him, the way I removed it from the one who was prior to you. I will cause him to stand in my house and in my kingship forever, and his throne will last forever. Nathan told David all these words and this entire vision. At that, King David came in and sat down before Jehovah and said, who am I, O Jehovah God? And what is my house that you have brought me this far? As if this were not enough, O God, you also speak about the house of your servant down to a distant future time, and you have looked on me as if I were a man who should be further exalted. O Jehovah God, what more can your servant David say to you about the honor given me when you know your servant so well? O Jehovah, for the sake of your servant and in agreement with your heart, you have done all these great things by revealing your greatness. O Jehovah, there is no one like you, and there is no God except you. Everything we have heard with our ears confirms this. And what other nation on earth is like your people Israel? The true God went and redeemed them as his people. You made a name for yourself by the great and awe-inspiring deeds, by your great and awe-inspiring deeds, driving out nations from before your people, whom you redeemed from Egypt. You made your people Israel your own people for all time, and you, O Jehovah, became their God. Now, O Jehovah, may the promise you have made concerning your servant and his house prove faithful for all time, and may you do just as you have promised. May your name endure and be exalted forever, so that people may say, Jehovah of armies, the God of Israel, is God to Israel. And may the house of your servant David be firmly established before you. For you, my God, have revealed to your servant your purpose to build him a house. That is why your servant has the confidence to offer this prayer to you. And now, O Jehovah, you are the true God, and you have promised these good things concerning your servant. So may it please you to bless the house of your servant, and may it continue forever before you. For you, O Jehovah, have blessed, and it is blessed forever. 1 Chronicles 18. Sometime later, David defeated the Philistines and subdued them, and took Gath and its dependent towns out of the hands of the Philistines. Then he defeated Moab, and the Moabites became David's servants and brought tribute. David defeated King Hadadezer of Zobah near Hamath, as he was on his way to establish his authority at the Euphrates River. David captures 1,000 chariots, 7,000 horsemen, and 20,000 foot soldiers with him. Then David hamstrung all but 100 of the chariot horses. When the Syrians of Damascus came to help King Hadadezer of Zobah, David struck down 22,000 of the Syrians. David then established garrisons in Syria of Damascus, and the Syrians became David's servants and brought tribute. Jehovah gave victory wherever he went. Moreover, David took the circular shields of gold from the servants of Hadadezer and brought them to Jerusalem. From Tibhath and Kun, cities of Hadadezer, David took a great quantity of copper. With it, Solomon made the copper sea, the pillars of the copper, and the copper utensils. When King Tou and Hamath heard that David had defeated an entire army of King Hadadezer of Zobah, he immediately sent his son Hadaram to King David to ask about his welfare and to congratulate him because he had fought and defeated Hadadezer. For Hadadezer had often fought against Tou, and he brought all sorts of articles of gold, silver, and copper. King David sanctified these to Jehovah, along with the silver and the gold that he had carried off from all the nations, from Edom and Moab, from the Ammonites, the Philistines, and the Amalekites. Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, struck down 18,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. He established garrisons in Edom, and all the Edomites became David's servants. Jehovah gave David victory wherever he went. David kept reigning over all Israel, and he was administering justice and righteousness for all his people. Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was over the army. Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was recorder. Zadok, the son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech, the son of Abiathar, were priests, and Shavshah was secretary. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Kerethites and the Pelethites, and David's sons were first in position next to the king. 1 Chronicles 19. Later Nahash, the king of the Ammonites, died, and his son became king in his place. At that David said, I will show loyal love toward Hanun, the son of Nahash, because his father showed loyal love toward me. So David sent messengers to offer him comfort over the loss of his father. But when David's servants came into the land of the Ammonites to comfort Hanun, the princes of the Ammonites said to Hanun, do you think that David is honoring your father by sending comforters to you? Is it not to make a thorough search and to overthrow you and to spy out the land that his servants have come to you? So Hanun took the servants of David and shaved them, and cut their garments in half at their buttocks and sent them away. When David was told about the men, he at once sent others to meet them, because the men had been deeply humiliated. And the king told them, stay in Jericho until your beards grow back, and then return. In time, the Ammonites saw that they had become a stench to David. So Hanun and the Ammonites sent 1,000 silver talents to hire chariots and horsemen from Mesopotamia, Aramaica, and Zobah. Thus they hired 32,000 chariots, along with the king of Maacah and his people. Then they came and camped before Medeba. The Ammonites gathered together from their cities and came out for the battle. When David heard about it, he sent Joab and the entire army, including his mightiest warriors. And the Ammonites went out and drew up in battle formation at the entrance of the city, while the kings who had come were by themselves in the open field. When Joab saw that the battle charges were coming against him from the front and the rear, he chose some of the best troops of Israel and drew them up in battle formation to meet the Syrians. He put the rest of the men under the command of his brother Abishai in order to draw them up in battle formation to meet the Ammonites. Then he said, "If the Syrians become too strong for me, then you must come to my rescue. But if the Ammonites become too strong for you, I will rescue you. We must be strong and courageous for our people and for the cities of our God, and Jehovah will do what is good in his eyes." Okay. Then Joab and his men advanced to meet the Syrians in battle, and they fled from before him. When the Ammonites saw that the Syrians had fled, they also fled from his brother Abishai and went into the city. After that, Joab came to Jerusalem. When the Syrians saw that they had been defeated by Israel, they sent messengers to summon the Syrians in the region of the river, with Shopach, the chief of the army of Hadadezer, leading them. When the report was made to David, he immediately gathered all Israel and crossed the Jordan, and came to them and drew up in battle formation against them. David drew up in battle formation to meet the Syrians, and they fought against him. But the Syrians fled from Israel, and David pulled 7,000 charioteers and 40,000 foot soldiers of the Syrians, and he put Shopach, the chief of the army, to death. When the servants of Hadadezer saw that they had been defeated by Israel, they promptly made peace with David and became his subjects, and Syria did not want to help the Ammonites anymore. First Chronicles 20. At the start of the year, at the time when the kings go on campaigns, Joab led a military expedition that devastated the land of the Ammonites. He came and besieged Rabbah, while David stayed in Jerusalem. Joab attacked Rabbah and tore it down. Then David took the crown of Malcham from its head and found that it weighed a talent of gold, and in it there were precious stones, and it was placed on David's head. He also took a vast amount of spoil from the city, and he brought out the people who were in it and put them to work at sawing stones and at working with sharp iron instruments and with axes. That was what David did to all the cities of the Ammonites. Finally, David and all the troops returned to Jerusalem. After this, war broke out at Gezer with the Philistines. At that time, Sibbecai, the Hushathite, struck down Sippai, who was a descendant of Rephaim, and they were subdued. And there was war again with the Philistines, and Elhanan, the son of Jair, struck down Lami, the brother of Goliath the Gittite, whose spear had a shaft like the beam of loom workers. War broke out yet again at Gath, where there was a man of extraordinary size, with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in all, and each who was a descendant of the Rephaim. He kept taunting Israel, so Jonathan, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother, struck him down. These were descendants of the Rephaim and Gath, and they fell by the hand of David and by the hand of his servants. First Chronicles 21. Then Satan stood up against Israel and incited David to number Israel. So David said to Joab and the chiefs of the people, "Go, count Israel from Beersheba to Dan, then report to me so that I may know their number." But Joab said, "May Jehovah multiply his people 100 times. My lord the king, are not all of them already servants of my lord? Why does my lord want to do this? Why should he become a cause of guilt to Israel?" But the king's word prevailed over Joab, so Joab went out and traveled throughout Israel, after which he came to Jerusalem. Joab now gave to David the number of the people who were registered. All Israel amounted to 1,100,000 men armed with swords, and Judah 470,000 men armed with swords. But Levi and Benjamin were not registered among them, because the king's word was detestable to Joab. Now this was very displeasing to the true God, so he struck Israel. David then said to the true God, "I have sinned greatly by doing this. And now, please, forgive your servant's error, for I have acted very foolishly." Jehovah then spoke to Gad, David's visionary, saying, "Go and say to David, this is what Jehovah says. I am giving you 3 options. Choose the one that I should bring on you." So Gad came in to David and said to him, "This is what Jehovah says. Take your pick, whether there should be 3 years of famine or 3 months of being swept away by your adversaries while the sword of your enemies overtakes you, or 3 days of the sword of Jehovah, pestilence in the land, with Jehovah's angel bring destruction in all the territory of Israel." Now consider what I should reply to the one who sent me." So David said to Gad, "It is very distressing to me. Please let me fall into the hand of Jehovah, for his mercy is very great. But do not let me fall into the hand of man." Then Jehovah sent a pestilence on Israel, so that 70,000 people out of Israel fell. Moreover, the true God sent an angel to Jerusalem to destroy it. But as he was about to do so, Jehovah saw it and felt regret over the calamity, and he said to the angel bringing destruction, "It is enough. Now let your hand drop." Jehovah's angel was standing close to the threshing floor of Ornan, the Jebusite. When David raised his eyes, he saw Jehovah's angel standing between the earth and the heavens with a drawn sword, in his hands extended toward Jerusalem. David and the elders, covered with sackcloth, at once threw themselves down with their faces to the ground. David said to the true God, "Was it not I who said to number the people? I am the one who sinned, and I am the one who did wrong. But these sheep, what have they done, O Jehovah my God? Let your hand please come against me and my father's house, but do not bring this scourge on your people." Jehovah's angel then told Gad to tell David to go up and erect an altar to Jehovah on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. So David went up at the word of Gad, which he had spoken in the name of Jehovah. Meanwhile, Ornan turned around and saw the angel and his 4 sons who were with him hid themselves. Now Ornan had been threshing wheat. When David came up to him, Ornan looked and saw David, and he immediately went out from the threshing floor and bowed down to David with his face to the ground. David said to Ornan, "Sell me the side of the threshing floor so that I may build an altar to Jehovah on it. Sell it to me for the full price, so that the scourge against the people may be halted." But Ornan said to David, "Take it as your own, and let my lord the king do what seems good to him. Here I am providing the cattle for burnt offerings, and the threshing sledge for the wood and the wheat as a grain offering. I give all of it." However, King David said to Ornan, "No, I must buy it for the full price, because I will not take what is yours and give it to Jehovah, or offer up burnt sacrifices that cost me nothing." So David gave Ornan 600 gold shekels by weight for the site, and David built an altar there to Jehovah, offered up burnt sacrifices and communion sacrifices, and he called on Jehovah, who now answered him with fire from the heavens on the altar of burnt offering. Then Jehovah ordered the angel to return his sword to its sheath. At that time, when David saw that Jehovah had answered him at the threshing floor of Ornan, the Jebusite, he continued to sacrifice there. However, the tabernacle of Jehovah that Moses had made in the wilderness of the altar of burnt offering were at that time on the high place of Gibeon. But David had not been able to go before it to consult God, for he was terrified because of the sword of Jehovah's angel. And then 1 Chronicles 22. David then said, "This is the house of Jehovah the true God, and this is an altar for burnt offering for Israel." David then gave orders to bring together the foreign residents who were in the land of Israel, and he assigned them to be stone cutters and to cut and shape stones for building the house of the true God. David also prepared iron in great quantity for nails for the doors of the gates and for clamps, and so much copper that it was beyond weighing, and also cedar timbers without number for the Sidonians and the Tyrians brought great quantities of cedar timbers to David. And David said, "My son Solomon is young and inexperienced, and the house to be built for Jehovah is to be exceedingly magnificent, so that its fame and beauty will be known in all the lands. Therefore I will make preparation for him." So David prepared materials in great quantity before his death. Moreover, he summoned his son Solomon and instructed him to build a house for Jehovah, the God of Israel. David told his son Solomon, "As for me, it was my heart's desire to build a house for the name of Jehovah my God. But Jehovah's word came to me, saying, 'You have shed a great deal of blood, and you have fought great wars. You will not build a house for my name, and you have shed a great deal of blood on the earth before me. Look, you will have a son who will be a man of peace, and I will give him rest from all his enemies who surround him. For Solomon will be his name, and I will grant Israel peace and quiet in his days. He is the one who will build a house for my name. He will become my son, and I will be his father. I will firmly establish the throne of his kingship over Israel forever. Now, my son, may Jehovah be with you, and may you be successful and build the house of Jehovah your God, just as he has spoken concerning you. Only may Jehovah give you discretion and understanding when he gives you authority over Israel, so that you may keep the law of Jehovah your God. Then you will be successful if you carefully observe the regulations and the judgments that Jehovah ordered Moses to give Israel. Be courageous and strong. Do not be afraid or be terrified. Here I have taken great pains to prepare for Jehovah's house 100,000 talents of gold and 1,000,000 talents of silver, and such great quantities of copper and iron that they cannot be weighed. And I have prepared timbers and stones, but you will add them up. A great number of workmen are with you, stone cutters, stonemasons, woodworkers, and all kinds of skilled workers. The gold, silver, copper, and iron are beyond measure. Get up and begin the work, and may Jehovah be with you. David then ordered all the princes of Israel to help his son Solomon. Is not Jehovah your God with you? And has he not given you rest on every side? For he handed over to me the inhabitants of the land, and the land has been subdued before Jehovah and before his people. Now determine with all your heart and soul to seek Jehovah your God, and start building the sanctuary of Jehovah, your true God, the true God, in order to bring the ark of the covenant of Jehovah and the holy utensils of the true God to the house built for the name of Jehovah. End of AV40.